Recent spike in hate crimes prompting the New York City Council to consider adding a buffer zone for protesters outside houses of worship.
Yeah, the bills were the first order of business for the city council's committee to combat hate, chaired by Councilman Yusef Salaam of the Exonerated Five. Take a look at the hearing yesterday.
Since the beginning of this year, we've witnessed multiple hate crimes, included are the spray-painted anti-religious graffiti at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Harlem, the hateful anti-black racist comments made during the CEC3 meeting, and a disturbing act of anti-Semitic vandalism in Graves Inn Park, where swastikas were painted on playground equipment. We cannot wait for the worst to occur before taking action.
So the bills are a part of City Council Speaker Julie Mennon's 5-point plan to combat anti-Semitism, and she is joining us now to talk more about that and provide some more insight. So, Speaker, great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
And I want to begin with something that Councilman Salaam was actually talking about regarding those racist remarks during this school board hearing, right? The actual parent there, Allison Freeman, teaches at Hunter College. She was placed on leave. Was that the right course of action to kind of place her on a leave while the investigation kind of plays out? And is this what you're looking to target?
Absolutely. I spoke to the chancellor yesterday, who indicated that they were placing her on leave. That is so important. Those comments are horrific. They're despicable. There is no place for them. And so I think that the chancellor took the right action in that regard. And really what we're trying to do with this new committee to combat hate that is chaired by Councilmember Salaam is to combat hate in all of its forms. We know that there is a real rise in anti-Semitic incidents. There's one actually every single day in the last couple months. We know there's a 69% rise in Islamophobic incidents. So we're seeing hate in all of its forms. And so by having this new committee, it's a way to really address it in a very granular way.
One of the biggest points of contention that's making headlines, though, is this buffer zone at schools and churches as well. Now, you had initially proposed 100 feet. It got whittled down, and now it's being left up to the NYPD to decide what that buffer zone is. Why was it left up to the NYPD, and then what are the next steps to the final decision?
This was really a conversation directly with the police commissioner and the NYPD to come up with a way where we can protect houses of worship, which was the intent of the bill, but not be overly prescriptive. We know in certain cases the buffer zone might be 50 feet or 25 feet. In other cases, it might be 200 or 300 feet. So there needed to be a little bit of flexibility around that. But the importance of the bill is to protect houses of worship. What happened at Park East Synagogue, for example, not that far from here, is unacceptable. Congregants have the right to go into and out of their house of worship without intimidation and harassment. So to be clear, this whole package of bills in no way interferes with the First Amendment right to peacefully protest.
Because that was the concern, that people's free speech was going to be taken away.
Of course, and that's sacrosanct. There's nothing in the bills that even talks about protest, talks about the content. There's nothing in the bills that has penalties. What the bills do is they require the NYPD to create a buffer zone to protect congregants that are going into and out of their house of worship.
So if somebody wants to protest, sorry to interrupt, if somebody wants to have a protest or whatever, it can happen.
Absolutely.
Just not at the door.
And it's not at the door, basically, not at the door, so that people can go into a synagogue or a mosque or a church without threats of intimidation or harassment. But it still, of course, allows the First Amendment right to peacefully protest. That's what our country is built on.
What's the next step for that?
The next step, so we had an amazing hearing yesterday. We had religious leaders from every single faith, hundreds of people turn out in favor of the bill. We got great feedback, and it's not just that bill. There's a companion bill that protects entrances to schools. We have bills that give security cameras to smaller religious schools that have had real security issues. We are creating a hotline to report hate crimes, which are oftentimes underreported, which is a real issue. We know that the Human Rights Commission is taking 833 days on average to close out certain cases. That's unacceptable. And sometimes when you call their hotline, people are being put on hold for 40 minutes. That just does not work. So these are a number of the steps that we're taking to crack down on anti-Semitism, on Islamophobia, on really all kinds of hate.
You know, when you were talking about buffer zones, we're talking about police that requires obviously manpower. And just curious, because, you know, with the budget now in place, the mayor is reversing his position on adding 5,000 more police officers.
Right.
Where do you stand on that?
I am concerned about that because we have the same number of police officers as we had on 9/11. You know, I spent a decade of my life working on issues around 9/11 as a long-term chair of Community Board 1 in Lower Manhattan. The NYPD has successfully thwarted over 50 terrorist attacks on New York since 9/11 that most New Yorkers don't know about because they successfully thwarted them. So I am concerned about the headcount issue, and that will be something, obviously, that will be part of the back and forth in our negotiation.
Yeah, I mean, those negotiations are behind closed doors, I know, and you wait for that big handshake in June. But speaking of the budget, you know, and the numbers in the NYPD, something else the mayor wanted to look at was raising property taxes if he doesn't get what he needs from Albany. That would need city council approval. So is that something you'd be entertaining, or is that kind of dead on arrival?
It's off the table for us. We are not going to raise property taxes 9.5% on the backs of small property owners, small businesses, renters throughout the city. That would, in our opinion, have a disastrous effect on affordability for New Yorkers. So we're really a hard no on raising the property taxes by 9.5%.
Now, that's the second time you said twice by 9.5%. Would you be interested in raising that at all?
No, we don't believe we need to raise it. So what we are looking at is savings. We believe that there are savings in the budget. We're going to release our own council projections in the coming weeks. We believe on debt service or variable rates or savings there. There's savings in terms of agency savings with a number of actual employees at every single agency. So we're literally going agency by agency. I used to run 3 agencies as commissioner. We know these agencies very well. We do believe that there are pockets of savings that we can find without, and let me be clear, we're not cutting essential services. That is also off the table. We are not cutting services. We believe the savings that we can find are going to basically protect the budget from any kind of cuts.
But do you think Albany should tax the rich?
I think the governor's put that off the table. So I think, look, we're left really with one choice, which is we need to find the savings. And so that's what is really within our power. And so that's where our focus is.
City Council Speaker Julie Menon, you're busy, as always. Thank you for coming in this morning, and come on back soon, okay?
Thanks so much for having me.
Good conversation.